All right, episode 2. What does it really mean to leave more than money? All right, welcome back to Retire Ready Texas. I'm James.
And I'm Cherish. And if you joined us for our first episode, thank you. We were overwhelmed by the responses, and it was very humbling to hear the people who said that sounded just like our family.
Yeah, absolutely. That was exactly the goal, and I got the same feedback. I sent it to some friends and family and some coworkers, and everybody's like, "Oh, we love it." We really never wanted this to feel like an insurance podcast. It's just about family and leaving more than money and the stories we're going to tell.
So, why we chose Leave More Than Money, I think is important to take a step back and explore the brand a little bit more. So, I heard some version of that in nearly every single meeting. They were different faces, different accounts, different zip codes, but the same words, the same fear.
Yeah, absolutely. We heard those stories at the kitchen table most of the time.
And at some point it hit me, nobody was actually worried about the money running out. They were worried about what happens to the people when the money isn't there to hold things together. That was the burden, the fighting, the fracture. That's not a financial planning problem, it's a legacy problem, and most of the industry isn't built to talk about that. It's built to talk about returns. So we picked a phrase that says what we actually do out loud. Instead of hiding it behind a pie chart, we leave more than money. Because the real inheritance here was never just the number. It's whether your kids can still call each other on Sundays. It's whether settling the estate becomes a fight or a conversation. And it's whether the last thing you leave behind is peace or a mess dressed up as inheritance.
Right. That's the story behind the phrase. Everything else we do is just the mechanics of making it true. You know, a lot of us, when COVID hit, got cheated out of that last one time. And nobody can ever say across from my desk, James, I hope I have more money in my bank account when I die. And they don't care anything about the memories that they have.
Yeah, it's more about their grandkids, their farms, the family businesses, their hunting lands, the traditions that they hold true.
Yeah, absolutely. Not, oh, I sure wish I'd have spent a little more time at work. Most of the time, sure wish we had gone on one more vacation.
Yeah. So all time Alzheimer's really has taught us some things. What leaving something really means. So one thing that Alzheimer's taught us is that memories disappear long before the people do. I mean, that body is sitting right there beside you. The hands you know, the voice you know, but the stories, those go first, quietly one at a time, and nobody tells you that's how it works. You think you're going to lose someone all at once, and you don't. You lose them in pieces, and the pieces you lose first are the ones you never wrote down.
Yeah, it's really hard just to see the blank stare and that recipe that you would get from your grandmother, or the fruit salad recipe that's lost forever that Dad always made. Those things that we had at Thanksgiving, like the green bean casserole and the certain way you made the Dr. Pepper ham.
Gone because we thought we had more time to ask.
Right. Yeah. And we don't. A lot of times we never know that one last time. Even the small stuff, what the house smelled like, what it was like
Before she was somebody's grandmother.
Absolutely. Just the time when your daughter, you could hear the little pity pats on on the floor for Christmas. Those are the type of things that we're trying to capture here, and the stories you guys need to share with us.
Here's the part that changes everything. If you let it, that's not the disease problem. It's a
Right.
nobody wrote it down problem. Alzheimer's just makes it happen faster and more visibly and more cruelly. But every family loses this, every single one. And the stories die whether the mind fails this year or year after year, and nobody asks. So when we say leave more than money, that's what we mean. Underneath the accounts and the beneficiary forms, don't let the money be the only thing that survives you. The money doesn't remember your voice. It can't tell your grandkids what you were like at 19. And that money never learned that recipe.
Yeah, we really ought to look at doing some type of capture device where you can be systematic about it. And I know this is our first attempt at starting to collect those stories, but we need to do a great job of archiving that systematically, maybe buy recipes, one last stories, last vacations, that kind of thing.
That clock is always running out on those stories.
Yeah. When was the last time you recorded your parents telling their favorite story?
Well, my daddy was here recently and he's got stories to tell. He told me a story on the front porch sitting outside. I did not know he almost got eaten by a shark in a cave while he was snorkeling all by himself when he was a young teenager. That was pretty incredible.
My favorite story that your dad ever talked about was when he was doing construction and he was working out of town. And so he didn't have an alarm clock. He didn't even have a wristwatch. And of course, it's pre-cell phone, like where you just have the the alarm on your cell phone at all times. So he would take Cheetos, the crunchy orange Cheetos, and he would put them on the windshield wipers and lay them across. And he knew that as soon as dawn broke, the seagulls would find them and they would start clicking on the windshield. And that was his bird alarm clock.
It was. I think that's genius. If you're in a coastal town and you have seagulls, it probably still works
You got a
today.
bird alarm clock and you didn't even know it.
Here's the biggest mistake that I see, and it's not a mistake with money. It's a mistake of attention. People will spend 2 years planning a 2-week vacation, comparing the flights, reading the reviews, building a spreadsheet to wherever. And people will spend decades planning a career, getting the degrees, promotions, making the right moves at the right time. And then they'll spend hours with an advisor going over their investments, the rate of return, the risk of tolerance, the allocations, the rebalancing, all of that. All of that gets planned carefully and intentionally.
All along, the time clocks are running. And, I think people would live their life differently. I thought about this yesterday. If you put a time clock countdown on when you like they say the average time that a person lives these days at about 75. If you started a countdown clock going towards 75,
Hmm.
you and you woke up every morning and you go, "Oh wow, I only have this amount of time left before there's a possibility that I'm not here." You might live differently, you know?
Yeah. So have you ever, you know what's scary? Have you ever looked at your, not a death clock, but have you ever looked at the time that you have in weeks? The average somebody lives in weeks. It is scary, right?
Right. Yep. And you and I always talked about that. It's like we feel like we're living on an accelerated time clock.
Nobody plans for who takes care of who. Statistically, one of us is going to need care before the other. But it costs not just dollars, but the person's health, their sleep, their own retirement. Like nobody plans for dementia. It's realistic.
Or a stroke. Like we had a couple in here today, and their their father was doing just fine, and then had a stroke. Or when's the next time something like COVID comes around and you throw a clot and you have a stroke or you have a heart attack?
And who has legal authority to make decisions when someone can't?
Right.
Because is that even written down anywhere? Is someone assuming it'll sort itself out? Because it doesn't.
If you don't have a plan, then that's not a plan.
Half the time, people have never logged into their retirement accounts because they said it's always been handled.
Right. They don't even check on their Social Security till like they start taking it.
Nobody plans for the family conflict until the kids stop speaking to each other over who got what or who did more or who was in the room and who wasn't. It's not rare. It's not an unlucky outcome. It is common.
No, we see that all the time. People that don't plan and they will fight over China and a wristwatch and all sorts of crazy things.
And you can leave the perfect portfolio and you can still leave your family a mess.
Oh, 100%. 100%. So that's why, if you're looking at doing a will just won't hack it. It's literally a one way ticket to probate, and you've got to have have a plan together. A lot of people choose to use a trust and get those power of attorney documents together. And we saw here recently somebody that didn't have, um, they didn't go to their bank and had death upon on deed on their bank account. And
The money being in order doesn't mean the family's in order. Those are two different jobs, and the industry only does the first one, right?
right,
The vacation, the career, the investments, those are the parts of life that the fun that are fun to plan for, but the caregiving, the memory loss, the family falling apart, all those things nobody wants to think about. And those are the parts that decide whether the second half of your life is actually going the way that you hoped.
all right, guys. I want you to think of it this way: retirement is not a finish line. It's a new season.
For the second half of life.
It's another chapter, and you have the opportunity to have a say so in how the second half goes.
So you need to have those legacy conversations, like questions that the family should be asking. Like, let's put some things down. What was your biggest mistake?
What was your
What
happiest memory?
what advice would you give your grandchildren?
What do you want people to remember about you?
What did your parents teach you that you hold on still to this day?
And I think about this. Well, what would I have done differently?
Yep. Yep. So that is the story of Leave More Than Money. That is the slogan. That is what we live by.
Begin a tradition is what I say all the time. And so, like, one of our cute traditions is anytime we want an excuse to hug our daughter, we ask for an O-bar sandwich. And so those are, after we're long gone, she'll remember, hopefully with Trini with her kids. So like, hey, let's have a family sandwich right here, right now. And
Yeah. So we just want to challenge you this week. Call your parents, have a conversation. If you have your grandparents still, call your grandparents, hit the record button, and strike up a conversation because they've got some incredible stories, and you rarely recognize the last time while you're living it.
look here, we've told you a couple of cute traditions that we have, and we would really love to be able to share those traditions with the listening audience.
Yes.
And so, if whether you send them by email or if you send them just a quick recording on your phone to us, or even if you have a podcast like ours, or maybe this format, it will challenge you to do your own.
Yeah.
And so, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, just recording on your iPhone, please send us what you've got, and would love to share with the listening audience.
Retirement is not about slowing down. It's about making sure what matters most lasts. So until the next time,
Leave more than money.